Okay.
Good evening, good evening. It is just gone 9 o'clock, yes, and it is Tuesday, the 1st of September 2015. Where's it going? Goodness gracious. It's very close to that day that will remain nameless, where you have to unwrap things. Um, Not good. Anyway, as I said just a moment ago, for those of you who weren't watching pre-show, um, this man is on screen now. Dave
Oh,
Kitson,
hello.
who is drinking. Yes, he's having one for me because I've got no alcohol in this room today.
That's
Yes,
what mates do, mate. You know.
yeah, I appreciate that, mate.
Yeah.
You've moved, so
You can count on me.
I did have you nicely framed, but you've moved. But there you go. So we'll be talking about all sorts of what have you, but we'll go into the titles first. Why not? And then we can kick off properly. Yes, and then I'll say hello to chat and everything else. So here they are, what we like to call the titles. Vaper Scene is proudly sponsored by Health E-Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids. Hello, hello, good evening. Welcome to this week's show. Myself and Mr. Kitson in the
Hello.
house tonight. I'll put him back on screen. Look, there he is. Look, full
Yeah,
screen.
I can't tell when I'm on screen or not. Remember, so you have to tell me so I stop scratching my ass.
Beautifully framed shot.
I
Yes.
bet not now.
No, stop it. I sorted out all the shots beforehand with seconds to go, and then he moves. Anyway, doesn't matter. It's all good. Yes, I coaxed Mr. Kitson onto screen tonight. And next week, strangely enough, I have an announcement about next week, but I'll do that later. Yeah. So, first of all, Mr. Kitson, how the devil are you? You on screen?
I'm really, really well. You?
I'm good. Yes.
Yeah,
What
good.
have you been up to recently?
Hellishly busy, frankly. Hellishly busy. Just through work and some family stuff and all kinds of things. So yeah, like most people, I guess. Just plenty to keep me occupied.
And how's the old vaping going? What have you been getting
Oh,
into recently?
nothing. Nothing at all. You know me. I found something I like. I'm sticking with it. I'm currently with the DNA 40, but I do have a DNA 200 on order. Although it keeps getting delayed because bits keep falling off it apparently.
Ah,
So we had an email about it today saying, okay, we sent them back to be fixed and they're still broke. So you can't have the colour you wanted and you'll have to wait another couple of weeks. And yeah, whatever. But I'm quite content, to be honest. I've got my DNA 40s, still using sub tanks. Was playing with the dripper again today because I've been at home. So
hmm.
it's always fun for clouds and stuff, but sub tanks.
Yes. I coiled the other sub tank up earlier because I'll get that from out of shot. You'll see this later on. The TFV4 and I put the RBA in it a few weeks ago. I was going to show this bit of VT last week that I'm going to show later.
Right.
But obviously Demetrius and I talked last week, so I didn't show it. But this week I've been using the quad coil in it, and I'll tell you my thoughts after the other bit of VT, I think. But still, yes, the sub-tanks. And someone mentioned there about a Triton. It's not a cracking tank, really, the Triton. Not for flavour, in my opinion. I need to give it another go with the RBA section.
Which one's the Triton?
The Aspire Triton.
Oh, that thing.
Yeah, I'm going to go to you soon. I'm going to cough, so I'm going to go to you.
Oh, no, that's not what you meant me to do, was it?
Oh, that's better. I muted myself. Bit of a dry throat there. Bit of a dry throat. Yes. So, yeah, the Triton. I'm kind of mixed about the Triton with the RBA. I did say I was going to give it a go with some NI 200 and see what it was like,
Right.
temperature control wise. Yes.
There is no other wire, incidentally,
There is no other wire.
than NI 200. That's all there should be now. No need for anything else. Throw it all away, NI 200. That's all you need.
Yes, I still use a bit of Canthal, but
Don't do non-temperature control anymore.
not on a temperature control mod. You're using nothing else now apart from TC stuff.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And I have 2 more mods sort of on the way. The DNA 200 I told you about, and also, Dream Vaper, who makes those really sort of nice CNC milled, nicely designed boxes.
Yes.
He's giving me a DNA 40.
Very
But
nice.
we're still at the artwork stage at the moment.
Oh, okay. Yes.
It's going to be a little bit special, that one. As all his stuff seems to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very, very nice. Very nice stuff. Very nice stuff. Let's crack on. Let's crack on with some stuff, shall we?
Let's do it.
On Dave's show on Thursday, you're going to see some stuff from the Scottish Parliament today. It came online too late to grab it, and it is quite long as well. But they've also put out this little bit of VT, asking for people's views, and this is what's on their website. People from across Scotland are today being asked for their views on legislation which will introduce restrictions on the sale of e-cigarettes and create no smoking areas in hospital grounds. The Health, Tobacco, Nicotine, etc. and Care Scotland Bill. It's a great name for a bill, isn't it? We also create a legal requirement for health and social care organisations to inform people when they have been harmed as a result of the care of treatment they have received. More information's on there, but a bit of VT. Got a little bit of VT coming up, which it kind of explains that. And then we're going to segue into another little story after that. Yes, have a little look.
Nicotine vapor products, such as e-cigarettes or vaporizers, as they're also known, have become increasingly popular, and now there are plans in a bill being scrutinised by the Scottish Parliament to restrict them, similar to what's been done with conventional cigarettes over the years.
I think they should be regulated, because you're still inhaling things that could be toxic, and if they're not regulated, then people might not know the health risks.
I just think it's people's own choices, if they know what an e-cigarette is, it's their choice whether they choose to take them or not.
This e-cigarette is just like, it's meant to be a way of quitting, so if everybody can get onto this e-cigarette and everybody can stop smoking, then it'll be a lot better for the environment.
I think they probably should be, because we don't know what's ahead down the line health-wise for people who are using these now.
I don't think they need to be regulated because apparently they don't do harm to the great public. So that's my view.
They're too much like cigarettes. I wouldn't have wanted my children as young teens smoking them. What about you?
No, I still don't like people blowing the smoke over me because I don't know what's in them either.
The measures are contained in the Health Scotland Bill, which is being looked at by the Scottish Parliament's Health and Sport Committee, and the committee is now seeking the views of the public on these proposals. It includes a ban on the sale of e-cigarettes to under 18s, a ban on adults buying e-cigarettes for minors, and requirement for e-cigarette retailers to be registered. The bill would also make it an offence to smoke conventional cigarettes in parts of hospital grounds. And it features plans for further changes to improve healthcare safety. Those proposals include a duty of candour for health and social care organisations, requiring them to be open with people when harm has occurred. There will also be a new offence of willful neglect or ill treatment of adults receiving health or social care.
Well, this is the stage where we actually call for ordinary people reviews. Governments and politicians have not got all the knowledge here. Those practical experiences that we would hope that people will contact us with are very, very important in informing the legislation going forward. That's why we're calling for evidence, and we very much hope that people will take this opportunity in areas that may affect them to contact the committee and involve themselves at this early stage.
You can get more information about the Health Scotland Bill on our webpage. You can submit your views to us by email or by post, and you can join the debate on social media.
Yeah, what do you make of that, chat? I've got to say, firstly, the people they were speaking to, why can't they understand that A, it's not smoking, and B, it's not smoke, it's vapour? You've got to get this into people's heads.
Well, we know.
Oh, hold on, Dave. Hold on. Go on, carry on.
I was just going to say, we know part of the answer for that. And the answer is because governments and the health bodies have spent too bloody long barking on about we don't know what's in them, rather than actually explaining to people it's not smoke. Yeah. You know, so people, like, you know, if they don't know somebody who vapes, then, you know, they're not necessarily going to know, are they?
This is very true.
Lack of information and education is the reason for that.
Yeah. What we need, like a few weeks ago when the whole PHE thing broke, the general news channels were talking about vapour and vaping as opposed to smoke and smoking. I think once it starts getting into the mindset of people when they're reporting on things like this, then the general public might then start picking up on that and start realising it's not smoking and it's not smoke. But but we need more of that kind of stuff, don't we? I just pick up a comment in chat, and it was probably an off-the-cuff remark, so I won't name the person that made it, that the general public are thick. They may very well be, but that's not really the reasoning here, is it? It's because you're not born knowing this stuff, and if the press continually talk about vaping e-cigs, smoking e-cigs, and so on, then that's the opinion people are going to form. And if somebody does, like, what do you do in your shopping, shove a microphone in your face and say, what do you think, then you can't expect an intelligent, clued up answer like you get from somebody who follows all this stuff on the internet. So I just see that as another challenge we've got, just to educate people, really. You know, I don't get upset about it. I do when reporters do, because they've got a duty to find out about what they're writing about, and not many of them seem very good at it. But, like, you know, so for your average Joe, you can't get upset because they say smoking an e-cig. I don't, anyway. Yeah, and we also don't know what the question was, how the question was put to the people, as you know, when they were answering. We don't know what the actual question was. So
that's very true.
They could have asked the question and used smoking and those words.
Smoke and mirrors.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's what it is, isn't it? What has the chat got to say? Let's have a little look. Mark Shaw didn't realise that vapors were a different breed now. You must keep up.
Dave Dawn's got some useful input there. See you that there box of your suking stuff ootive look just like a ciggy. They're all black and the size of a wardrobe. Cheers for that, Dave.
Yes, all very good. And Dave has also said, you're still on screen, by the way, Mr. Kitson. I'll put us both up. There we go. I'm looking down at the laptop as well. Yes, Dave also says, brainwashed over 50 years. It's why so many folks think nicotine is the killer. Indeed. Yeah, and that's another thing, is the whole how harmful is nicotine, and they still think that nicotine is the cancerous thing.
Education. Let's start with the reporters, then the politicians, and then the public will get the right message.
Yeah. And Paul Robinson, 804, that says, general public believe in bad press. And they do.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
Bad press is far more interesting than boring, happy stuff.
Yes. Oh, yeah, blood and gore and guts on the front page is so much more better than somebody winning £1 million on the lottery.
It sells papers, or whatever the equivalent is.
Yes. And Leanna Ola says, evil nicotine. Now, I remember when I was at school, let me go to this shop, there we go. I remember when I was at school, I think it was the science teacher brought this film in, and it was a cartoon, and it was nicotine. It was the dangers of smoking, he kind of went from a normal person into this withered, old, gnarled character because he'd been smoking for so long. A bit like the episode of Family Guy, if you've ever seen that one, where Peter Griffin starts smoking. Have you seen that one, Dave?
I have. Yeah. I'm a fan of Family Guy.
Yes, if you haven't seen that particular episode where Peter Griffin starts smoking,
I'd never really thought about that, but you're spot on. You know, I mean, there they were making public information films, and the message was actually wrong. It shouldn't have been nicotine at all, should it? It should have been carbon monoxide or something.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
But that's it, you see. It's the whole addictive, non-addictive, cancerous, non-cancerous. It's still...
Yeah, I find that kind of amusing going back. And distressing is that people seem unable to modernise and adapt their thinking. Now we have more facts and evidence. You know, we live in an age where we don't have to guess that much about the effects of stuff, and the studies have been done and everything. And I think if there's a frustration about it all, it's not that we used to sort of, you know, have send out the wrong message. It's the fact that we don't seem to learn, and by we I mean governments.
Mm-hmm.
Frustrating.
Yes, it is. It is frustrating, but this is something that we've got to overcome, isn't it? And we have to overcome it by us, the community, educating those who need educating.
We should
just
persevere.
I think we need to start educating the stop smoking services and stuff. What we'll do is we'll go into the ads a couple of minutes early, and then when we come back, we'll talk about the other story, which kind of follows on from the Scottish one, with the hospitals. I think, Dave. What do you think?
Oh yes.
Yeah, because that'll take us a bit of time. So we'll go at the ads now, and then when we come back, we'll do that. So we'll see you in a bit less than that. Vaper Scene is proudly sponsored by Health E-Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids.
Often imitated, never duplicated. Award-winning service and products from cloud9vaping.co.uk.
And now it's back to Vaper Scene on Vaper Trails TV. Vaper Scene is sponsored by Healthy Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids. And we're back. Here he is, look, there. He's been doing all sorts of stuff during the break. Keeps changing his camera and all sorts of stuff.
I'm professional, me.
He's a professional vapor. It's a professional drinker. Yeah. Anyway, Mr. Kitson.
Yes.
Let's get back on track.
Let's do that.
Leading on from that other story, there's a couple of. He's doing my head in today. There's a couple of stories in relation to hospitals, and the first one was from the Lancashire Telegraph. Link, please, Chief. Health bosses refuse UKIP request to allow patients to use e-cigs. Why UKIP requested it, I do not know. But this is in East Lancashire. And they've refused their UKIP request to allow patients to use e-cigarettes in the grounds of their hospitals in Blackburn, Burnley and elsewhere. I didn't know elsewhere was in Lancashire, but there you go.
I thought down here somewhere, but there you go.
Yes, their Lancashire Vice Chairman, James Barker, had written to the Chairman of Health Trusts covering hospitals there. And the letters follow last week's Public Health England research claiming that devices were 95% less harmful than tobacco. The crux of the thing is that they're not going to allow it. You can see the story there, and they're not going to allow it on their sites. And the trust has no plans to alter its stance on this. Where do you stand on the whole smoking in hospital grounds and people going outside? I mean, I was at the hospital today. I was having some physio on my knee. Because I'm having some issues with my knee,
right.
and I'm waiting to see the old surgeon again. But I've got some physio, and I was there, and there was nurses walking outside the hospital and sitting on the wall and having a fag.
Nurses and doctors smoke. Nurses and doctors vape.
Yeah. So where do you stand on if you were in hospital, and you couldn't use your e-cig in your room, would you want to go outside?
I can tell you categorically what I did do. I found myself in hospital. This was before I vaped. This would have been early 2010 with a catheter fitted.
Ouch.
Yeah, and a drip, and I took the whole damn lot to the nearest door I could find. And they told me, you can't smoke here. So I carried on. Across the little zebra crossing where the ambulances come in, out onto the pavement just outside the hospital gate to smoke. So they actually had this you can't smoke on the premises in force as long ago as that in our local hospital. And I smoked. And that's what I did. And after a while, the nurses, sometimes they come with you because they wanted a fag as well. I think it's absolutely disgraceful. The first time I was in there, a couple of years before that, then I was standing outside the casualty entrance, the A&E entrance where the ambulances come in. That's where everybody went, staff and patients. Where I stand on the idea of banning smoking outside and in hospital grounds is, I think it's not far short of barbaric. I mean, we're talking about people here who will be distressed by the very fact that they're being hospitalised, seeking a little bit of relief, a little bit of break from, I mean, I don't know if you've ever spent much time on a hospital ward yourself. There ain't a lot to occupy your mind. And to be told that you can't even step outside and have a fag now, I think it's barbaric. As well as being a practical thing, so something that I think is bad for practical reasons, ideologically, I think it crosses a line as well. We've been told that the reason you can't smoke indoors for years now is because of the dangers of secondhand smoke, right? That danger cannot exist in the fresh air. It just can't. Okay, so it signals a change from a sort of pseudo-science, evidence-based objection to your smoking to a pure ideological one. And we know that's the case because they're talking less and less about the effects of secondhand smoke and more about renormalising smoking and all that kind of crap across the board now, aren't they?
They are indeed.
And you know, I saw a Clive Bates piece, and it was actually to do with the Australian government and their attempts and their ideas about regulating e-cigs. And he'd actually found a paragraph which stated why, you know, the factors that should be satisfied before the government should consider any kind of regulation. You know, like, and they were spelled out in many different ways, but what it amounted to was there has to be a reason to regulate. You know, there has to be a harm to others, that kind of thing. And that, for me, should be the principles that any regulatory authority or anybody making any kind of policy should be playing to. You can't tell somebody they can't have a fag for ideological reasons. You know, it just offends every principle I've got. The pseudoscience thing, the smoking indoors thing, that's a battle that was fought and lost some time ago. But to now cross that line and start saying people basically you can't do it because we don't like it and we don't think you should, that's a step too far. And this is just one of the way that thing is manifesting itself.
Yes, I agree with you. Bernice in chat has said in her day there were smoking rooms, and yes, there were, weren't there? There used to be smoking rooms where you could go. And I noticed at my local hospital today that there used to be a smoking shelter outside. That is now a taxi waiting shelter. So they've even changed that. But
it's the very least they should do is provide a comfortable shelter where people can sit down, because we're talking about sick people and injured people. Yeah.
Yes.
It's the very least they should do, because what's actually going to happen is a percentage of people now are going to hurt themselves or endanger themselves by making a break for the gate. So what's going to happen? It's a stupid policy that they can't enforce. You know, it's not a prison; it's a hospital.
Yes.
Sorry, rant.
Yes, he's ranting. Yeah, they're not prisons. The other thing, of course, is the whole mental health hospitals as well, because we know that nicotine has an effect on people's emotions and on people's brain chemicals.
I seem to get quite emotive about it, yeah.
But yeah, if somebody is in a mental hospital for treatment, they're not allowed to smoke, and they're not allowed to use e-cigs. And that's something else aside from just your normal person visiting or your normal person that's in there for a while. I mean, I haven't spent any more than a day in hospital for a long time since I was a kid. So I'm quite lucky in that sense. But for those people who do have to spend a great deal of time, if they're not able to actually use, you know, their device, if they're a vapor, or not able to go outside into a sensible area, not in the rain, somewhere where it's covered and safe, then the hospital are doing a big disservice. Let me go to that story. Oh, go on, Dave.
They're putting people at risk, aren't they? They could be. You know,
Yes.
People are going to smoke or vape. And it's funny because there's not much distinction between cigarettes and e-cigs in this, is there? Because they're treating them pretty much the same. I know you're going to pop up a graphic at some point which shows of these proposed hospital bans, how many of them also ban e-cigs. So they're one and the same thing. It's a pure ideological objection, and people are going to do it. If I got hospitalised, if I could walk, I'm going to do it. I'm going to leave and go to where I can, you know, or, you know, obviously stealth vape as long as you can, because that's far more convenient and comfortable. But, like, you know, I've done it before and I would do it again. I would walk to the gate and stand on the pavement. And, you know, people would walk in past saying, what on earth are you doing? Because, you know, I was there with the little wheelie drip thing. And I said, I'm having a cigarette because they won't let me have one over there.
Sean O'Toole has put in chat here, I've been to Derby Royal 3 times a week for the past 27 weeks. Nobody has said a word to me about it, and I'm stood outside the main doors and with patients and nurses all vaping, which is all good. This particular thing, though, is Scotland, and here's the story. It was on BBC News, and this follows on from the Scottish piece of legislation that they're wanting people to give them feedback on. And this is on the BBC News channel, BBC News site. The link will go into chat. Simon Clark from Forest made the remark while giving evidence to Hollywood's Health Committee. Plans to make smoking...
Simon.
Yes. Plans to make smoking on hospital grounds a statutory offence have been branded inhumane, petty and vindictive. Yeah. To ban smoking on all hospital grounds we think is totally humane. It's totally vindictive. It's petty. Far pettier actually than banning smoking in pubs. At least people can still go outside. To extend it to entire hospital sites we think is absolutely outrageous. And the story goes on. Mr. Clark agreed that smokers congregating outside entrances to hospital buildings was not a nice sight, but suggested designated shelters or 100-yard no smoking zone would be more appropriate. Now, there's more to this story. I won't show you the rest of it, but I'll show you the graphic that Dave mentioned. And here it is. These are the Scottish Health Board's smoking ban policies, and you can see all of them, apart from NHS Lothian and NHS Tayside, all ban e-cigs as well, with Tayside the only one that's actually under review, but Lothian it's restricted. And there's also smoke-free grounds date, so you've got borders there 2014. Dumfries and Galloway was in March, Forth Valley 07 and 2010, Grampian 14-15. They've all done it or are doing it, and they all ban e-cigs at the same time. That is pretty crazy, isn't it, Dave?
I think it's absolutely. I've almost. I do have the words, but I know you don't like them on your show. But
you're the boss. You can say what you like.
It's cruel. I think Simon Clark summed it up exactly right. What did he say? Inhumane, vindictive, petty.
Yeah.
Yeah, spot on. Can't argue with a word of that. And you know, like I say, there's no distinction between cigarettes and e-cigs. All the same, it's a pure ideological thing by prohibitionists. Right? There's not a shred of reason or evidence to do this other than people don't think we should do it. Stinks.
Well, yeah, it doesn't seem that, does it? Because no one can smoke. Yes, I mean it is pretty crazy, and I also, just slightly off subject, but I saw a story earlier where this guy was fined for putting his cigarette end down the drain. I think we've all used to do that when we smoked.
We did all used to do that, but it's not a good habit, is it? Yeah. Chucking the bins down the place.
No,
it's not good.
No,
but we've all done it, because what else do you do with it, practically?
Well, it depends. Yeah, depends. On holiday, I saw a lot of fag ends in the sand at the beach. I would always take a little.
In it, that yeah.
Yeah, I'd always take a little ashtray thing, and it was a kind of a fireproof pouch, and I got it when I went skiing, and you could put your fags out in when you were skiing, so you don't leave it in the snow. So I just take that, or I just take a can and put them all in the can. For goodness' sake, don't just leave them everywhere. Yeah. So yeah, I wasn't one for doing that, but yeah, it was just a strange story, that's all. So yes, going back to that graph, how long is it going to be till we see similar thing in the UK, in England, as opposed to the UK, as opposed to Scotland?
I'm sure they'll be hot on the case. I mean, Wales are trying to do something similar. It won't be long at all before some of the English health authorities try and do the same. I'm sure of it. That said, at least they'll meet some resistance in England from PHE.
Yes. Yeah.
Not on the smoking. This is where we have to remember where people's bread is buttered. I'm sure that there will be support for smoking, restricting where you can smoke. I wouldn't be surprised at that at all, but I would expect more leniency on electronic cigarettes. So it still stinks, but only for smokers, not vapors. That's what I reckon.
Yeah, and you're probably right. I think to lump smokers and vapors together is certainly the wrong thing to do. But there really needs to put...
I'm not really saying that. Because I think when I understand your point. My personal take on this is that smokers and vapors are the same when the objections are purely ideological. Right, there's no more reason why a guy shouldn't smoke outside a hospital, like Simon says, in a designated area, 100 yards, whatever. There's no reason at all why somebody shouldn't smoke. There's no more justification for that than there is for saying you can't vape. That's my view on that.
Yeah, I think that the 100 yards kind of DMZ, if you like. I think if it was from...
Yeah, just build your shelter away from the door, don't you?
Yeah, away from the door and away from the walkway, so people walking past don't need to get a whiff of what you're vaping or what you're exhaling if you're smoking. But would you be happy to have a shared shelter for smokers and vapors?
Now there's the $1 million question.
So that's the thing, isn't it, you see?
Personally, yeah. Because I don't subscribe to the fact that this second-hand smoke outdoors, because the shelter is pretty much outdoors, isn't it? You're not allowed to have sides or anything, are they? It's just basically a roof.
Yeah.
It has to be open 3 sides or something?
No, it has to be open 2 sides, isn't it?
2 sides, whatever it is, basically. Yeah. The chances of me contracting something nasty by sharing a shelter like that for a few minutes every hour or whatever it is are, to my mind, negligible. So I don't have an issue with that. However, if the stuff that we've been expected to swallow on how dangerous second-hand smoke is true,
yeah,
then they couldn't really push you into that situation, could they? Yeah. So personally, I don't have a problem with it. The people who say second-hand smoke can kill you in such circumstances shouldn't even dream of trying, should they? Because they're basically saying we're pushing you into a harmful environment.
Exactly. Yeah. And I just saw a comment in chat there. Let me just see if I can find it. Yes. So Rob says if you can drive a car near to a hospital, then you should be able to smoke there. And that is a good point because
exactly.
the car park at the hospital I went at today is probably less than 100 yards. There are cars less than 100 yards away from the front. So people are driving past and of course there's exhaust fumes. So, at what point do you stop this silliness and start being sensible? That's the thing. Or are you going to have to walk for half a mile from the nearest point where there's any kind of, noxious fumes to get into the front of the hospital?
I think that happened about 7 years ago where the common sense flew out the window, mate.
God knows when it was. I really have no idea when it was. But it is a crazy situation, isn't it? We are going to take the next set of ads. And when we come back, I'll see what I can find from chat there. And we'll blether some more. Yes. So, back in 2. Vaper Scene is proudly sponsored by Health E-Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids.
Vapors, Dripper just got 40% bigger. So if you love discovering new e-liquids, tell Dripper what flavours you like and we'll send you 70ml of juice and at least 5 flavours. With a money-back guarantee and free delivery anywhere in Europe, dripper.co.uk.
What's in this e-cig cloud? Harmless water vapour, right? Pretty much, yes. Compared to a lit cigarette, it's much safer than smoke. But it contains nicotine, and nicotine on its own isn't toxic and doesn't cause cancer. If you're worried about switching to vapour, here are some facts. No tar, no smoke, no burnt tobacco. Cooking your evening meal produces more toxins than are found in exhaled vapour. Tobacco smoke contains toxins at very high levels, and vapour does not. And that vapour contains 6,000 times less carcinogens than cigarette smoke. Electronic cigarette vapour. There's nothing to be frightened of. The only dangerous electronic cigarette is a banned one.
And now it's back to Vaper Scene on Vaper Trails TV. Vaper Scene is sponsored by Healthy Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids. And we're back. Hello, I was just leaning down there looking at the chat. He's still here, look, Mr. Kitson's still here. Da-da-da. Yes, Hi-Fi Stud said civil disobedience, all I'm saying. I think he's going to start a revolution.
Well, let's face it, I mean, that's going to be the next interesting phase of this, isn't it? You know, and civil disobedience is the future, it's the way forward, you know. Whether it be continuing to transmit a vaping TV channel after you're not allowed to promote anymore, or organise a vape meet, or, as to get back on topic, just doing what you want in the hospital grounds. You know, there's a lot to be said for civil disobedience, an awful lot.
Yes. But there is civil disobedience and civil disobedience, isn't there? We're not talking about, you know...
Oh, yes.
Setting fire to sofas and that kind of stuff. I think it's going to get to that point at some point if the nannying doesn't stop. And at the end of the day, we've said this all along, if you can go into a petrol station or you can go into a corner shop or a supermarket, and although you can't see them anymore, if you can purchase a packet of fags
in a plain packet.
In a plain packet, yeah, with maybe some pictures on, some nice graphical images. If you can go and buy a packet of tabs, or a pouch of tobacco, or, you know, a cigar, a little cheroot, then you should be able to also purchase e-cig stuff. And you should be able to use that device or use that lit tobacco in a adult fashion, in a controlled way, and reasonably any way you like, outside especially. Now the old inside, the old smoking ban and everything, has that actually changed anything health wise?
Well, it hasn't really cut the number of smokers, has it?
No.
I mean, that's one of the sort of outstanding facts. It's closed a few pubs, well, quite a lot of pubs actually, but it hasn't actually started to reduce smoking prevalence at all. You know, let's face it, the biggest innovation, the thing that has started to have an impact on the number of people smoking is e-cigs. Mm-hmm. So there's it was just another crap idea. Now that said, and I'm sure I'm not the only person in restaurants and stuff like that. I used to, even when I used to smoke, I used to not go in the smoking sections of restaurants and stuff.
No, exactly the same as me, Dave.
Yeah, even if you smoke, sometimes you just don't want to be sat in the smoke. But I'm a firm believer that, I mean, in other countries in Europe, they handle this just fine. You know, they'll have some expense has to be gone to, you know, air-conditioned smoking areas in bars and stuff like that. In Switzerland, they're very fond of building a glass partition in the bar.
All right.
So you have to actually go through a door into an air-conditioned bit. But at least you can, like, stick your head through the door from the street and see if your mate's in there.
Yeah, but it costs you £14 a pint in Switzerland.
Well, that's true. Yes, yes, and they, you know, they're very fond of laws like that. But they have similar sort of arrangements in Germany. My personal view on indoor smoking is that the proprietor should have the option.
Yes.
Yeah, and then basically the majority will rule, because if you're running a premises commercially, you'll end up making the decision that brings the most people through the door. True?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, or you'll sod the profit and say, no, anybody can do what they want in here, and then we as smokers, vapors, punters have the option, and everybody seems to be happy. But unfortunately, the health bods aren't. So I just think that's my view on that. But even given where we're at today, and that is that you have to go outside, there's no justification for this extra. It's persecution, really. That's the word we've been struggling for, isn't it? It's persecution of smokers.
It is bordering on persecution, isn't it, of smokers and of vapors?
It is. It's persecution. You know, it's causing discomfort, annoyance, denying people, you know, what should be a right of choice for no good reason whatsoever, other than ideological prohibitionist ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, smoking indoors, there are still hotels where you can smoke in the rooms.
Yeah, because they're not public.
No.
Yeah, they're not public, are they, hotel rooms? It's basically private. Yeah, you know, it's funny, when I started vaping and we were all vaping those little crap things, you know, I think that Egos and Reavers and stuff like that, I used to ask for a non-smoking room when I started vaping, because the smell of smoke was a bit just, you know, it does linger, it is there, and you notice it when you don't smoke anymore.
Yes.
These days I ask for a smoking room because you know that the smoke alarm isn't going to go off when you start blowing clouds.
Yeah, I'd never thought of that, to be fair. And one of the hotels that I stayed at in Glasgow, I found that because I was a smoker then. This is going back 6 years, and I went to that hotel every time I was in Scotland because I could smoke, and I knew I was going to be on the fourth floor. And it was going to be a smoking room. But then when I started vaping, I started going into non-smoking rooms. I also found out that the sales manager for the hotel was a vapor.
Right.
So they had no problem at all. One of the other hotels that I stay at, which I'll be at next week when I'm back in Scotland again, they know I vape. They're happy that I vape. One of the receptionists even told one of the chefs about us at Vaper Trials TV. And they came all the way down from Kilmarnock to Birmingham to the NEC, to the exhibition, the expo, yeah, and came and said hello. But you can never smoke at that hotel; you have to go outside. But they're perfectly fine with vaping. As I think we saw at the Premier Inn, didn't we, in Birmingham when we were there, that they weren't particularly happy about vaping.
Yeah, I think, and let's be honest, we were getting funny looks off the diners as well, weren't we?
We weren't vaping indoors, though. There was one fella, wasn't there? There was one fella, and we were being in the restaurant. We were outside, in the open, having a pint, and with my orange. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
And this guy came and he took a photo. It was really weird. Dave Dawn could maybe say something in chat. But it was rather strange. He came and deliberately took a photo. It wasn't a Vaper. He wasn't kind of getting a photo of the Vaper Trails TV crew. He just took a photo of us really kind of weirdly, and then walked off again. It was very strange. But when I was at Vape Fest at the Premier Inn, there'd been some alarms going off.
Yeah.
And they were none too happy about any vaping going on. So
That's the curse of cloud chasing, that is.
Yes, yeah.
Hear more and more stories about people tripping smoke alarms.
Yeah, in pubs and hotels especially. I'm kind of, I don't blow clouds when I'm in a hotel room. Don't blow clouds. I will do from outside, but I'm mindful that I don't particularly want to have to get up at put my shoes on and go outside if the alarm goes off and it'd be my fault. So I'm kind of careful that I'm not blowing huge plumes, especially anywhere near the smoke alarms.
It makes sense.
It says what?
Makes sense.
It does make sense, doesn't it? You don't.
These juices I've got here, like you can chew the vapor, So I try and keep it away from smoke alarms. I've never set one off yet, though. Never set one off yet.
I don't know what Trevor's saying here. He's just said glance spy, Marco. I have no idea. No idea. Oh, sorry. The guy at the NEC. Yeah, it could. I don't know. He was a very strange fella, though.
Oh, Glance.
Yeah.
Oh, Glance. He's been out again today, hasn't he?
Yes.
What a plonker that bloke is.
I don't think we should do a kind of moratorium on Glance and block him from coming into the internet into this country at all. Like China can just change things, so you can't do this, that, or the other. We should do that and just block Glance totally.
Either that or rip the piss out of him mercilessly. Either's good. Yeah, he still has some influence. It's true, but I think far less than he used to have. Everything he publishes makes him look like a bit more of a dickhead these days, doesn't it? So certainly does in my eyes.
There is that. There's a few people as well, and they like to say what they think, but then they block you, so you can't give them a reply. So they take away your right to reply because they're not man enough to listen to the actual other side of the story.
And then write to the Telegraph about like the abuse they took.
Oh yes, yeah. The tirade of abuse they got from this lovely lady from Dorset, from Cornwall. Yes.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a farce. But I don't think actually that many people take them seriously anymore. There's enough high-profile public health guys now speaking out in favour of e-cigs and are openly, sort of broadcasting the fact that they know what they know by talking to vapors and by engaging and what have you. So Glance is kind of old news. Like I say, he's still got some influence. It'd be nice to see him totally go up in a puff of smoke, if you pardon the pun. But he, he's less worrying to me than he was.
Yes, you were black then for a minute, and then you came out again.
It flicked on my screen as well.
Yeah, it flicked. Now, talking about that, strange enough, we're going to just cover this very slightly because we've got about 5 minutes left. So the VT on the TFV4 next week. I noticed there was a piece by Channel 9 Australia, and they've got their kind of online doctor, their in-show doctor called Dr. Joe, and he was talking very favourably indeed about e-cigs.
He was good. I liked him.
Yeah, and I did tweet them, and I said, could I use a bit of VT? Because we have to be careful what we show, because we can get issues, we can get into trouble for showing stuff. So I did tweet them, but I didn't get anything back from them, unfortunately. I also tweeted Dr. Joe asking if he wanted to come on and talk. So you never know, we might get him on. Because, of course, we've got Attila Danko over there, who is trying his best to change the mindset in Australia. And he's having an effect. And this Dr. Joe was quite animated. Did you see the piece, Dave?
I did, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Somebody tweeted it a couple of days ago, was it?
That'd be me.
Might well have been, and I know Attila Danko and Clive Bates and everybody latched onto it also, and you know it was like it was kind of a breath of fresh air coming from over there, wasn't it? It was you know, good ideas being publicised, and yes, would be great if we could get an interview with Dr. Joe.
Yes, I will endeavour to keep on his case and see if I can get him on. Because of course in Queensland it's totally illegal to have any nicotine liquid at all, any e-juice at all. And then in the different states they're also doing something similar. And we've had Vince Van Heerden on the show a couple of times, who was prosecuted and fined and had all his gear removed. So I think we are making a difference. The community's making a difference across the world. It's slowly catchy monkey.
Without a doubt. And the new Nicotine Alliance, New Zealand and Australia branches that are getting, you know, finding their feet and are up and running and tweeting and doing their stuff and everything, will definitely accelerate that along. Fantastic stuff. Just a thought: if you need any to offer any kind of inducement or encouragement to Dr. Joe to come on VTTV, promise him a free pen.
The free
I've still got
pen.
a couple left.
I think I might have a few. I might have a few left. Yeah, I might have a few.
But you can pay the
I've
post.
got one here, in fact. Look, hold on. So it's on my desk. Look there.
But you can pay the postage for us.
Yes, I've got one, and then another couple of hundred, I think, in the box. Yeah.
I've got an unopened box of 1,000.
You ordered them, mate. You ordered them.
Hey, they were better value.
Oh dear. Yes. So yeah, I might just offer Dr. Joe a pen. We'll see what happens. See if we can get him on. It'd be good to get people on from other parts of the world to talk to us about what they're doing. And I know we all know Dave's going to Dave Dawn, that is Hi-Fi, is going to New Zealand for the New Nicotine Alliance very soon indeed.
Middle Earth, as it's now been renamed, I believe.
Yes. Hi-Fi said give all his pens away at Vape School 2. Yes.
Oh.
And that's just typical. I was in Glasgow very briefly on Thursday last week. And then that was happening, so it's a shame I wasn't there at the weekend. I would have gone to that, but if I can tie it into one of my visits, I will certainly do that. We are very nearly out of time, Mr. Kitson.
But that's what happens.
Yeah, let me put you back on again. There we go. We didn't touch on your tweet that you put earlier on this week. Let me just put it on screen. Here we go. This is the tweet that Dave did earlier on.
Tweet.
The hashtag nostalgia is Liberty Flight's Reaver 510 starter kit, the Happy Vaper blog, and it was that. Yes.
I've revamped my blog.
Yes.
www.thehappyvaper.com. I was just changing the theme and stuff like that, and I had to go and edit all of the old posts just to reformat some stuff because the new theme treated them a little bit differently. And I came across my first ever e-cig review. It's not a video or anything, it's just a text. And I read it because most of them I didn't read. I just did the edits, you know, the way you do. And I just thought, oh wow! And I read it back, and I thought there were a couple of things that struck me. One is that how excited I was about the whole thing, about this ego type e-smell Reaver, and the other thing was that during the course of the review, I explained that I had to send 2 of the wall wart chargers back because they melted things.
Yes.
One of the actual chargers, you know, the ego chargers, the USB on one end and the little thing, the screw-threaded thing, I'd had to send one of those back because it had failed. A combination of the 2 had fried both of the batteries in the kit, so they didn't work anymore. So I'd actually, so I'd actually had 3 wall chargers, 2 510 charging cables, and 4 batteries, right? And so basically everything failed. Everything failed and had to be replaced. And even though all that had happened, the review is still saying how brilliant it is. And it just made me smile. So as I was there, I tweeted it again as a sort of nostalgia thing. But God, how things have changed.
Yes, I know. That's another show, completely another show.
It could be.
That's exactly the kit that I started on, a Reaver 901. The one with the little tanks.
Yeah.
And then I moved on to the lava tube, and the rest, as they say, is history. But yeah, we need to do a kind of an evolution show 1 week.
She'll have to do that. Clever filming.
Clever filming, yes.
Clever filming, evolution stuff, yeah.
My screen flickered again. Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, it's gone 10 o'clock, so we'll wrap it up. Tomorrow night, because Ridian is on his honeymoon in New York to be arrested vaping. Matt's got a couple of weeks off, so it may well be a melee show tomorrow night. I just have to tune in and find out, and keep an eye on the social network feeds and on our homepage for that. And then Thursday, Mr. Dave Dawn will be in the house with the Haze Hour, and he's going to touch on the rest of the stuff from Scotland today, from the Health and Sports Committee, talking about e-cigs. It did look rather good, but it only hit their website about 8:30, so it was too late for me to grab anything and do any edits. So he's going to be looking at that. Monday, we'll be having the old gits, I believe, and then next Tuesday, which will be the 8th of September, Gary Dibley returns to Vaper Scene. Oh, yes.
Dun, dun.
Da-da-da-da-da. I've got no idea what he's going to do. I've got no idea what he's going to show us. But
I bet he doesn't either.
Gary's going to return back to this show from next week. So there you go. Bit of good news for you there. Yes, got my Oppo back. Thank you very much to Mr. Kitson. There he's back on screen again.
Thank you very much. Been fun.
Very good. Always good to have you on.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for tuning in and watching this thing that we like to do on a Tuesday night. You will see me next week. So enjoy the rest of the week, and I will see you all soon. Tatty bye. Say goodbye, Dave.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Vaper Scene is proudly sponsored by Health E-Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquid.